And our opening words come from Psalm 133. How rare it is, how lovely, this fellowship of those who meet together. This prayer is by Amaret Calloway. Spirit of life and love, thank you for the gifts of life and love. Help us to embrace fully the sweet and the bitter moments of our days. Help us to treasure the times of abundance and to find meaning in the times of emptiness. Help us in our abundance to reach out to those who hunger, and help us in our times of hunger to admit our neediness and to accept the caring hand of our neighbor. Amen. Our reading this morning is entitled, For What Are We Saving? By Mark Nepo. So often we put externals first, he says. Out of worry, out of fear, out of obligation, we think we're being good Puritans by saying no to what stirs us. In the 60s, the well-known psychologist Abraham Maslow conceived of a hierarchy of needs, in which he established that human beings must provide for basic physical needs, such as food and shelter, before they can attend to inner needs, such as self-esteem and right relationship. While this is in part true, he says, I believe there is a dimension of the inner life that is as imperative and equivalent as food and shelter. Without the fulfillment of these basic inner needs, we are just fed and sheltered bodies void of life. Without love, truth, and compassion, all the comforts of modern life don't matter, because we are simply reduced to biological machines, not even as present as animals. Without this understanding, we often defer the risk to love. I need to establish myself before I can get involved. I need nice clothes first. I'll become physically desirable first. I'll eliminate my problems first. We also defer love once it is before us under the guise of safeguarding our future. I won't call long distance now because I'll need the money when I retire. I won't meet them at this concert now because I'll need money for a new car soon. I can't afford to enter counseling with my partner because we need new storm windows. Certainly we have to balance and make choices, he says. But with no love in the house, there is no need for storm windows. When I was ill, says Nepo, I faced the very real possibility of dying. And suddenly the little money I'd saved, however prudent I was, didn't matter. It was all worthless. It became immediately clear that the only true purpose of money was to help make love work. When ill, I didn't hesitate to make all those long-distance calls I always put off. I met friends at concerts and bought albums and sent flowers instead of waiting for the perfect occasion. I bought plane tickets to the Caribbean for my wife and dearest friends, and we went. Once well, I couldn't go back to deferring my life under the guise of saving. I still save some, but now I feel compelled to use whatever money I can afford to make love work, to bring truth into being, to allow generosity and compassion to flourish. This is more than altruistic. It is necessary to be fully alive. It's part of the wood that keeps the inner fire burning. I am now forced to ask, he says, beyond rent and health insurance, for what are we saving? If the love we have is not brought to life out here in the world, We risk saving for a future that may never come, or that in fact may find us just ghosts of spirit, unable to live because we've squandered our chances to love along the way. I've been very excited about this next part of our service in which we welcome our new members. We had a fabulous time last Sunday with a marathon class. They stayed all day. We're real troopers. And at this time, I'd like to invite the membership committee, Pastor Brenda Haywood, and our new members to come forward. And please bring your orders of service because you're going to need those. When I was little, my parents used to read me books about Little Bear. The pictures were the best part, but the stories were good too. There was one about birthday soup. There was one about Little Bear pretending to go to the moon. One of my favorite ones was called, "What Will Little Bear Wear?" It is cold. See the snow? See the snow come down? Little Bear said, "Mother Bear, I am cold. See the snow? I want something to put on." So Mother Bear made something for Little Bear. "See, Little Bear," she said, "I have something for my little bear. Here it is. Put it on your head." "Oh," said Little Bear, "it's a hat. Hooray! Now I will not be cold." Little Bear went out to play. Here's Little Bear. "Oh," said Mother Bear, "do you want something?" "I'm cold," said Little Bear. "I want something to put on." So Mother Bear made something for Little Bear. "See, Little Bear," she said, "I have something for my little bear. Put it on." "Oh," said Little Bear, "it's a coat. Hooray! Now I will not be cold." Little Bear went out to play. Here's Little Bear again. "Oh," said Mother Bear, "do you want something?" "I am cold," said Little Bear. "I want something to put on." So Mother Bear made something again for Little Bear. "See, Little Bear," she said, "here is something for my little bear. Now you cannot be cold. Put it on." "Oh," said Little Bear, "snow pants. Hooray! Now I will not be cold." Little Bear went out to play. Here is Little Bear again. "Oh," said Mother Bear, "what can you want now?" "I am cold," said Little Bear. "I want something to put on." "My little bear," said Mother Bear, "you have a hat, you have a coat, you have snow pants. Do you want a fur coat too?" "Yes," said Little Bear, "I want a fur coat too." Mother Bear took the hat, the coat, and the snow pants. "See," said Mother Bear, "there is the fur coat." "Hooray," said Little Bear, "here is my fur coat. Now I will not be cold." And he was not cold. I thought of this story when I was thinking about abundance, which is the theme that our terrific pledge drive team came up with for our stewardship efforts as we prepare next year's budget and make our pledges to support the Meeting House for 2014. I was thinking that so often abundance is not about having more, but about a change in perspective about what we do have and how we can use and share what we have, and seeing the deep value in that. So often we judge our lives by measuring against others and thinking about what we don't have. If instead we measured our lives by taking stock of what we do have, we would see that in fact we live a life of abundance, each and every one of us. Little Bear felt cold because he was focusing on what he thought he needed. When he finally took stock of what he already had, his own fur coat, he stopped feeling cold and began feeling the warmth of his abundance. I've often needed to make this same change in perspective. It's so easy to fall prey to the game of keeping up with the Joneses. It's always a pity party when you start with that game. Because no matter where we fall with wealth, possessions, gifts, talents, good looks, there will always be people who are wealthier, more glamorous, more talented, and more beautiful than we are. If we insist on comparing ourselves to others, if we insist on taking stock of our lives by what we do not have, we will always be left feeling empty. And when we feel empty, we think that we have nothing to give. Our energy stays internal, used up by this constant charting of accounts that keeps us in the red. If instead we reject the game of keeping up with the Joneses, realize that the Joneses have nothing to do with us and our own happiness and our own ability to share our gifts with the world, the math works out so differently. If we start with an accounting of what we do have, everything changes. A life of abundance begins with a change in perspective. Here's another story about perspective. A man came across 3 masons who were working at chipping chunks of granite from large blocks. The first seemed unhappy at his job, chipping away and frequently looking at the sun to tell the time. When the man asked what it was that he was doing, the first mason responded rather curtly, "I'm hammering this stupid rock, and I can't wait till I get to go home." A second mason, seemingly more interested in his work, was hammering diligently, and when asked what it was that he was doing, answered, "Well, I'm molding this block of rock so that it can be used with others to construct a wall. It's not bad work, but I'll sure be glad when it is done." A third mason was hammering at his block fervently, taking time occasionally to stand back and admire his work. He chipped off small pieces until he was satisfied that it was the best that he could do. "What are you doing?" the man asked him, and the third mason stopped, gazed skyward, and answered, "I am building a cathedral." What if we could think abundantly like that third mason? What if we could realize the gifts that we do have? What if we could go outside and not be cold? What if we could take pride in the cathedrals we are building, in the small contributions that we are making to something that endures beyond our own lifetimes? That's the shift that I want to work on in myself, in my relationships, in this community, in our town, and in our world. The shift toward abundance thinking. The other part of abundance that I've been thinking about is that abundance does not involve a treasure trove. Abundance is not a stockpile of unused gifts. There's something about abundance that spills over, like a cornucopia. I love that image of the cornucopia, that strangely shaped basket full of fruits and vegetables flowing out onto the Thanksgiving table. It feels abundant, and it feels like it's going to feed people. It's not just about providing beauty for the eye and heart. All that harvest is going to be shared and eaten and enjoyed. There's something flowing about abundance. It is not stagnant. It moves. I was really happy to see the quote that our fundraising team put on our new giving brochure. You'll see it downstairs. The universe operates through dynamic exchange. Giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of energy in the universe, and in our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. Deepak Chopra. In our new member class last Sunday, someone asked me to speak to the criticism that Unitarian Universalists get about having no creed or dogma. How we answer that question and that criticism, I think, has a lot to do with our sense of abundance. If we are doubtful and tentative about our faith community, then when we get pushed by that question, so you aren't really a religion then, we struggle. We get defensive and tongue-tied. But when we answer that question from a sense of abundance, from a deep wellspring of hope, community, peace, centeredness that our faith community has helped us to fill, then we do not need to be defensive or tongue-tied or even feel particularly challenged by the question. A change in perspective enables us to use criticism like that as a chance to tell people and remind ourselves what we are fed by in Unitarian Universalism. A deep sense of connection to the earth and to nature, the support of a thoughtful and caring community, a sense of history as we build upon ideas and questions that have been central to human existence for generations and generations. A place to voice prayers, offer blessings, mourn, celebrate, reach beyond ourselves. A time and space set apart to explore what is holy, what is divine in our lives. A formal commitment to working to make this world, here and now, a better place. That feels like religion to me. If I answer from a place of abundance instead of fear, it doesn't even matter how the rest of the conversation goes. The gifts of my faith cannot be diminished. They can only be shared from within. They can only grow. I hope we can learn to think of more of life's gifts in that way. That if we live from a place of abundance, our gifts cannot be taken from us, but they can be shared, should be shared, must be shared in order to grow. When we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Amen, and blessed be.